G'day, welcome back. Today I'll be focusing on a carving. I cleaned up a piece the other couple of videos ago, and it's from Lightning Ridge. I said I might do a carving out of it, and today I'm going to attack it and see what it comes up like. Carving is a longer process than cutting traditional on the wheels. It'll probably best if I time lapse this, so a lot of it may be sped up, but I will be talking a little bit throughout it as I go. The bits I'll sort of explain as well. I've obviously got my glasses, safety glasses, magnifying glasses. Definitely need a face mask, don't want to breathe anything in just in case, and all my bits. So we're starting off, I have preloaded in my Dremel. I must explain, I'm not affiliated to any of these companies or brand names, so I'm just mentioning what I have. I'm kind of a, when you're on a good thing, stick to it, so I just came across Dremel and it's been a great piece. I've never had to change this, just the bits, and I've bought various brands of bits over time, and I'm up to these so far. Again, these are from Gem Cuts. I'm not sponsoring anyone, or not sponsored by anyone. I'm not trying to promote anyone. I'm just explaining how I get what I get in case you're looking to source stuff because you're not sure. From there, I'm sure if you search for it, you'll come across many a supplier, find one near, as long as they're good bits. So I have my Dremel, have a 150 bit that's already preloaded in it. That's the grip. The next one will be a 200. From there I can go straight to a 400, then it goes up to a 600, which is what I want to get it to before I start on these rubber tipped polish bits, I suppose, pre-polish. So go through the grits of the colour system up to the very extra fine, extra fine I think they're called, and onto the serum oxide, and my homemade polish tip, just a wooden dowel on one of those screw tips I think I showed in the other video. The piece we'll be doing today, again I said we did this piece the other week. Took it back a little bit just to see what was under the surface. It came up, but it had a bit of a potch through the middle, so it's a bit of a ribbon through the middle of black. There's a little bit of colour each side into the black, and I'm going to try and highlight that best as I can and see what happens up this end as well. Bare back this side, a bit more around here. On this side, it had some nice colour in there. It's very multicolour. I'm not sure how it's going to come up on this camera at the moment. And on the other side, I'll take most of that grey back best I can, because it's very shallow there, and it'll turn black again. It should turn black again underneath, and see what comes up under this side. You never know, might get a surprise this side. So a bit of wet. Not sure how it's going to come up close. Yeah, that's the piece I'll be working on, so I'll take a seat, get myself ready, and I'll talk to you next. So this will be the piece I'm going to work on. It's a bit better lighting now, you'll probably see a bit better of the colour. Unfortunately this one formed a bit like that, so the bars run sideways that way, and to face them would be very pointless, so we're just going to get to see the sides of them. I'll try and reveal as much of the colour as possible with the carving, and probably clean up the back, and may end up getting a surprise that side. Not sure what it's going to turn out like. It's a bit of colour this side, so it might be presentable as well. And we're going to leave a whole stone. Just start working on these sand patches. There's another one at the tip here. One at the top. Just up there. And see if I can't make something worth putting in a pendant at the end of it. But this will show my process. I'll be starting off with the 150 grit on my Dremel and progressing onto the 200. So this is going to get noisy when I switch the Dremel on a bit and might get a bit wet. So find the switch. So I'm just going to sort of touch the sandy spots and see what they do. Always keeping it in the water while I do this. Again, it keeps the bit cool and lasts a bit longer too. The sand there goes in the face. If I just do this gently and take out only what needs to come out, as it's going to be a carving, not that weight's too much of a factor, but size surely is. You'd like to see more of the stone than a little stone when it's a carving. So I do have some really small stone carvings. They were just so pretty they had to be done something with. And they ended up a carving. So by cleaning up just the sand out of it at the moment, will enable to see a next plan of attack, which is to reveal the colour that's in there under the angles of the bars of black. On one side I'll be able to reveal it, and it'll probably be a bit of a wave effect over the top of it. This sand here is going in a bit deep. I'm a bit concerned. Might start losing the tip of this in a minute. And sort of creating a groove in that way, and then bringing it up and over so it gets a nice scoop, and then I'll roll the sides over afterwards. Get them nicely smoothed over. Starting to disappear now. The spot starts getting smaller, it's a good sign. Until it disappears altogether. If it gets bigger again, you get in a bit of trouble. And just smooth those sides over a bit. Start rounding all that out. It's got a bit of a milky potch through the centre there, with black on the sides. I might start a little groove right here, and it'll either get better or just look interesting. And you'll also be able to see the side of the black here a bit better, I think. I'll take out some of this. So here's where I'll start concentrating a bit, and I might do a hyperlapse for you. And we'll see how this starts shaping up. So I'll talk to you in a little minute. so this is as far as I've gotten so far. It's got a bit of a undulating face. I can try and show it that way. It's got a bit of a groove at the top there. So I'll use a pointer. So up here, it's got a scoop in there. It goes along there to expose this side of that strip. Then over this side, I took away this side. The strip sort of ran that way and then twisted as it went over. And so it's one side there, and I make it a bit of a hump. Take out a little bit of this black, expose a bit more of this. I've taken the tip off, which was grey, right up to where the colour starts. And I've got to take a little bit more off of just here, over here, just to expose a bit more of this colour in over the top there. It cleaned up it pretty nicely in the middle. And not sure what that tip ended up doing, except making a bit of a undulating, interesting look. That's about it. So now I'm going to start on the back, expose a bit of the colour that's here. There's a bit of a stripe that runs through at the back here as well, and I'll see if I can just tidy up those bits, see what can be shown. So I may make a setting that can be seen both sides then. So back to a hyperlapse. I'll talk to you in a little bit. So it's starting to come up very nicely. Started to, I took out the bit of sand out there and up this end. It's got a couple of little crater holes in it which will look interesting, at least I think. I can get it to show up with the light reflection there. There's one right in front of my thumb there. A bit more in front of it, down towards this end of the stone. So bit of a picture stone in the end. Cleaned up this side a bit more. Some of the colours come through. From down this side a bit more, red stripe. Very pretty. The colours are showing up. I'll try and get some of this grey off to expose more of that tip. And then I'll start on the back. Start tidying it up a bit. And seeing if there's any colour poking through there that's worth chasing. There's a couple of sand spots I'll have to get out as well. Hopefully they don't go through too far or I end up with a bit of a fragile stone. And there's not much in that tip, so I may end up losing it. The colour in the side was a bit deceptive. It doesn't actually travel across the stone. It's just part of the... I'd like to have had this side of the stone. Where's the rest of it? I wouldn't have been able to afford it, I don't think. And this was a gamble piece again. But hopefully will work out. It was part of a... I think it was an $1,100 parcel. And there was quite a few stones in it, amongst with this one. Again, I'm not an evaluator, classer. I don't set the prices. I know a reasonable price. I don't want less than. But I also like to let people decide what to pay. So auctions, a good way to go for me sometimes. And then sometimes I'm pretty set on a price. But I'll try and be very reasonable, and may introduce you to that side of my business later in another video. But for now, I really just want to share the cutting side of it. I don't know if there's enough attention with all the shows on TV and other websites. I run dry myself, so I really like watching. And I'm going to give a shout out to him, Justin from Black Opal Direct. Love his videos. Not affiliated with him, not promoting him, just my opinion. And I wish I had someone to do my camera work. No, I'm just joking. My son's doing this for me. He's doing a great job so far, I think. And so yeah, I'll stop rambling on and start cleaning up a little bit more of this and see what more colour I can get to pop out. Some of that black may disappear, which is okay. It's what's under it I want to see. And then I'll start on the back a bit. So another bit of a hyperlapse. she's turning out really bright and beautiful at the moment. Peel back a few valleys into it. There's obviously the two this side, either side of that red bar, the other side of the green bar there. See that side of it, that side of it. And then you saw cleaning up the backs, turned out quite a bit of a surprise for me anyway. A nice little patch in that corner there. So then I'm coming over this side of the stone, and I have to watch its thickness. I don't want it to get too thin. I'm not really chasing any colour over in the middle, I don't think. So I'm just working over on this edge, starting to thicken up a little bit in that bar. A little bit of a face showing. I think the main side's obviously going to be this side for display. It's got some really nice colour in it. Golds and reds and greens, blues. But yeah, I'm not too sure what I would have got out of it if I had to cut it into a stone of a traditional type. And I think it was definitely worth the time to carve this one. So I'm going to clean the back up a little bit more, get rid of these little yellow stains, clean this side up a bit more, and then I'll move on over to the next Dremel bit. So here's the piece. I think it's come out best it can be at the moment. It's got some really nice black opal all over it, but also I'd call it potchy sort of, excuse my camera work, ribbon through it, so there's definitely black opal in it, and some crystal opal. So it's a bit of a mix, strips and bands, but I've done it to clean out all the sand, smoothed out all the pieces, all the little divots, holes, with the 150 grit. This has all been 150 so far, and now I've got to leave enough so I don't whittle it down too far and it still remains a solid stone. Now I've just got to go through it with all the other grits and get it to a finished product. But I'll also be doing the cerium oxide with this one on the Dremel. I won't be able to do it on the wheel for obvious reasons. So gosh, I love that colour. It looks so much better in real life too. The camera sort of does accentuate some parts of it, but then it doesn't really pick up certain other parts. So I could have ended up with a nice long stone like that, just a little black opal, which would look strange and small and still undulated. But I prefer carving, it kind of preserves the whole. Just pause it, just edit this out. So again, just going through the next grit will be quick over with a 200 just to take out the rougher marks here, then onto the 400 and the 600 and through the rubber polished bits, and hopefully it'll turn out, yeah, definitely nice. Maybe I should have cut a little stone off the side there. Nah, adds character to it this way, I think. It's a one-off, definitely a one-off piece. There will never be two of these, two alike. That's the uniqueness of the opal. This is what really attracts me to it. The fact that this was formed underground, but never for nature's purpose, had the intent for it to see the light of day, buried, hard rock, and once pried out and cleaned up, it just has this beautiful colour display. It's just amazing. And it's not a crystal, there's no crystal formation to any opal, even though sometimes we call this crystal opal in the middle there, but translucent maybe, but not crystal, not by crystal formation. And so it's not like other gemstones. You can facet opal, but it's not like other gemstones that had a crystal formation that determined how big it was and all the characteristics. It's totally different characteristics to opal from any other stone that I know of. Even the other mother of pearl type stones with the play of colour and the ammonites, I think I pronounced that right. And yeah, Australia's got the best, I think. I don't mean to boast, but I really do think we've got the best. Lightning Ridge just has the most amazing formations. So yeah, I'll go on to doing the next grits. I probably won't talk for a little bit. I'll just do a whole, probably a super fast hyperlapse, but hopefully it's visible. And don't want to make this too much longer. we'll get to the finished product and see what it turns out like. So I'll talk to you in a bit. So this is the result after the first red rubber polishing tip. This one here. I've got another 4 to go, and it's going to take a little while to do each one, so I'm not going to film all of it. It's just a repeat process each time, so you can just sort of use your imagination a bit as to how long it actually took me. I'll keep time and I'll probably mention the time afterwards. It's coming up quite beautifully. Great little finish. And once it gets to a polish is just going to make it outstanding, especially with that colour there. It's gorgeous. I'm really impressed. I'm happy with this piece for what it is. Until I get to the polish stage, and then I'll do a bit more video. So this will just be a quick for you, but for me, I'll see you in an hour or so. So I've gone through the blue, brown, and the lighter brown, tawny colour, extra fine, and got it to a really nice pre-polish right before serum oxide. It's got a really good finish on it this time. This time that I'm showing you, that is. All the little grooves, all the holes, all the bits. So hopefully my Dremel will also fit into these little holes, not a problem. The tip of it will, they're not too deep. But kind of looks like a bird. That way up. Its tail down there. Beak up here. A band down through its eye to its neck. Gives me an idea for a pendant, maybe. So yeah, I'll no doubt polish this probably in real time, and get set up, and I'll see you in a sec. Okay, so got a little bit of serum oxide on my Dremel tip. Coated the stain and just let it dry a bit so it doesn't fly off, and I'll just keep a little bit of water on it as it goes, so I keep it moist. Got to keep the face mask on for this bit too, because you don't want to breathe in serum dust just for fact, you don't want to breathe in serum dust. And it'll take a little while to coat this whole thing and go over it a few times, but this just shows the process and just how long it can take. I did start this around about the 3:30, 4 o'clock mark this afternoon, and the time now is roughly, hang on, got my phone out, is 9:34. So it's been 5 hours roughly, 5.5 hours. I've had a couple of breaks here and there plus for the filming, but it's taken quite a while, and obviously this piece had to be mined, had to be paid for, had to get here, got cleaned up, polished. There's a lot of steps involved that's not covered in this video alone, and then it's yet to be set, and hopefully I can show you that too. So I'll get on to the polishing. Hopefully I don't spray the camera with serum dust. I'm going to start by getting into the holes. Just slowly working it around, just letting the bit do the work. There's no point leaving it sit on the spot and spin. It sort of burns. It gets dry and hot, I should say. But the wooden dowel can start to get, not burning, but a hardened layer, which makes it hard for the serum oxide to absorb into it or stick onto it without just flying off. So it's dry, pasty, so the serum oxide is very tacky, and as you can see, it's not just flying off the stone straight away. Just gives you a bit of time to play. You can work it around from side to side because of the direction of the spin. It always pushes it a certain way, and so you just learn how to work it one way then the other. And every now and then I'll do a dab of water. If it gets too dry, it flies straight off. So bear with, it's just going to be a lot of this. I may not talk too much while I do this. It's sort of the concentration factor of making sure I'm covering each spot. Going for all the low points first, because they're hardest to get into. And also, when you go over them, if there's any grooves from a grit before, the dust sort of highlights it the way it sits in there. So far so good. I'll keep bringing this water a bit closer. Stick my finger in, a bit more water on the subject. Used to take me a lot longer before I figured out with the Dremel in this piece. I used to do this by hand as part of the process. And another video I'd actually like to show you my collection of little carvings. And got another video that I'm going to be putting out with a lot of the work I've done prior to this. Some of the pieces I don't have anymore, I've sold on. Some of the pieces I do still have in my collection, and some are waiting to be set. And some of them I've got shots of the rough and then being cleaned up, but they're all still shots. But it'll show some of the work from start to finish and also being set. I do all my work in silver, sterling silver, solid. I probably could work with gold. It's a little bit expensive for what I can afford to work with at this present time. And so I also didn't want to overshadow the opal with the settings too much. So a lot of the settings I was making and have been making are sort of simple settings, so not to just detract from the opal, because that's my main focus anyway. But I am learning as a silversmith. I'm not a professional. I know the basics and a little bit more. I consider myself a jack of all trades, master of some. Opal cutting, not quite a master, but I'm not too bad. Whereas silversmithing, more of a jack of all trade there. I'm part of a club that I may actually, in later videos, get around to introducing you to. Do a lot of work there. I learnt my silversmithing there, but I learnt opal cutting back in '93, roughly, by a man named Donald Rankin. Hi Donald, if you're out there. And thank you for this lifelong gift you gave me. I can say I've probably learned a lot more since, but had it not been for that, I would never have thought that I was somebody who could be doing this. It's always something you saw somebody else doing. But when you just get into it, practice a lot, you tend to get a little bit better at it. And it's not a race, but it is good if you can work fast in the industry, which I'm not actually part of as such. Where my stones end up that I sell as just stones, I'm not too sure, but there's no commercial quantities that I'm pumping out. It's more of an artistic side of things that I'm trying to do. As you can see, I'm not really interested in cutting everything in a perfect oval, and not that it doesn't look good, but I don't need it looking $1 million if it's not. I'm not trying to dress it up as lamb, so to speak. fool anyone, so it is what it is. In this piece it has its good points and bad points. Obviously it's not full of colour, that's a bad point. But again, I wouldn't have been able to afford to do anything with this piece if it was, because the price would have been a little bit higher than what I paid for it. So for my budget, I'm kind of happy enough with this sort of material. If only I could sell it a bit faster would be good, but I'd just spend it back on Opal again. And some pieces I'm not too sure I want to part with straight away. I like to look at my Opal quite a lot. It kind of helps reflect back on time after you accumulate a bit of a collection up. And then every now and then part with one or two. The sacrifice of parting with them is to get more of them, so it's sometimes hard to let them go. It's Opal, some of you may know what I mean. So at some point it's good that someone else can enjoy it for a little while. So I know there's quite a few of my stones that are out there in the world somewhere, all over the place. In the United States, Canada, UK, Germany. I think I sent one to Croatia, Poland. And of course locally. But I'll never see them again. Wherever they've ended up, they've ended up. All I have is photos, which I'll share in another video, as I was saying. There's quite a few of them, so I might just kind of be something to sit there and zone out and watch. Might be too much commentary to say. More of a show and tell, or more of a show than a tell. Putting it that way. Starting to get a bit of a polish every now and then. I can see the finish coming up amongst all the pink smear. I'll hopefully be starting up my own website soon, where I can put some of these up for sale if anyone's interested. I have another line of work that pays my bills, and I've been slowly trying to get more Opal, so I work to provide Opal in a way. And I think I mentioned the mine. I've got a mine to get Opal, because I thought, why not? Any which way I can get Opal, I'll try and do it. Very addictive, must admit. Be careful. It can be an expensive habit, but at least it's not that harmful. unless you're mining and something happens, but other than that you should be right. Quite a good habit to have. So as you can see, this does take quite a while. I'm only on the first side still. For the sake of viewing time, I may skip the other side, and when I've finished I'll come back and we can have a good look at it and weigh it, just for curiosity's sake, and see what I ended up with. So pretty much this side's almost done. But I won't show you yet. I'll keep it for the reveal. So yeah, onto the other side. I'll do the edges as well. And I'll see you in a little minute. Okay, back again, and finished finally. It's 11 o'clock at night. I'm a bit tired. I'll probably wrap this up pretty quick. I started, I think, about 3:30, 4 o'clock, so it's been a good 7 hours, but about, say, 5 to 6 of those I've been working at this. The last hour and a half would have been the most consistent for the polishing. It took quite a while doing both sides, trying to get a nice polish on it, and not have to go back to it again. So I think it turned out really well for what it is. It's a really beautiful colour. I really like this tip down here, and then this green, it's just gorgeous. But yes, managed to polish it up quite well. I know it's got a tip up here, but it still sort of has bits of colour through the side. A little bit there. Sort of on the back. It's got a nice flash down here, gold. It's actually quite multicolour. I really like that gold, orangey gold. And then of course the green on the other side from that side came through quite well. So it faced quite nicely double-sided. It's got a nice little patch of black opal in that corner there, in here.
through to that side as well. And I love that red stripe. Interesting looking piece anyway. So that's Lightning Ridge, partial black opal, I think you'd call it. I have to stick it on the scales and see what it weighs in a sec. In the background here I've got some cards I'll talk about in a minute, and just inform you of how I go about doing what I do and where I source some of my material. So on the scale, not that this really matters too much, 2.4, so we're looking at 12, just call it 12 carats. So it's a little 12 carat carving. So even at say $20 a carat, it's still a $240 ring. Carving. Getting ahead of myself. And I'm sure it might be a bit more than that, I'm not sure. But I'd be happy with a couple of bucks, you know. Again, I may end up setting this independent, and I might do a video on that. And then start informing people where they could probably get some of this. And again, I think, yeah, same parcel is where I got this other carving I showed before a couple of times now. And got a couple other pieces I've cut inside. I'll bring them out and show in another video, and I'll re-mention this parcel. I got it for $1,100. That was a little while ago, over a year ago. Not sure what it would have sold for now. A little bit more, maybe. But it's been a lot of work, as you can see, just getting up one piece. And another piece. And then if I was inclined to try and get my money back, then it's trying to sell it. It's another struggle. That's why I also set mine to try and increase a little bit more if I have to sell something. And usually only to buy more opal. Well, I usually part with it. And other than that, it goes in my collection. So other than that, this is just the gem cuts for people. That's where I've got a lot of my tips from. I'm not promoting these people as such. I'm not sponsored again or affiliated. I don't know any of these people personally. Just adding in there that I just happen to shop there. Again, not the only places I shop, but online. This is probably the easiest route for me anyway. And the opal I buy, the black Lightning Ridge stuff anyway, found this guy online. It was pretty good deals, parcels, cut stones, all that. Reasonable priced. Pretty honest fella, so that's his. And yeah, I'll have to think about what I'm going to do for my next video. Not too sure yet. I know I'm going to do one that's just going to be a edit of a lot of stones that I've cut, and showcase a bit of my work and figure out how to move on with the next stones to be cut. More likely go back to the Andamuka field and start cutting some more of that green. Also might start slicing up the matrix I've got there, one of those rocks, and start seeing what I can cut out of it. I need to retrieve some money out of those unfortunately, but I'm sure I won't have a hard time. They're very beautiful, nice green through the one I'm going to be cutting up. I think this is one of the stones here that I've cut already out of it. It's a Andamuka, believe it or not, Andamuka matrix. It's a gem matrix. It's polished up very nicely. I don't have to seal it with anything. This hasn't actually been cooked yet, almost to the point I don't think I need to cook it, by which I mean treat it and have it blackened. Still got to clean the back up a bit, tidy this up. But it's got a nice little high dome. medium high. Quite good colour all the way over, multiple different angles. It was just a chip off the side of the big stone, and this is what that came out like, so I can only imagine what the rest of it will come out like. And I do think cooking it will serve it better. I think it's just what people expect from a matrix to be a dark cooked treated stone. So I'll have to see. I might keep some like this just to contrast. Maybe put them in the necklace together. So it's a few ideas I've got, but that'll be for another video. I think that'll do for today. Again, thank you for coming and watching this channel. I'd like to go further. If anyone is actually interested in this, show some likes and maybe a subscription, and eventually one day I wouldn't mind live streaming if anyone's actually interested. I'm out to do it, promote this industry in a way. Not that I'm in industry as such, but Australian gemstone, I think it deserves a bit of recognition. Doesn't so often get. And as much as I can do to show people how to go about, even if you have to go cut your own to get some, I think everybody should have a piece somewhere. And yeah, I'll prattle on a bit more in another video. Thanks for your time, much appreciated.